And if that goes good, then we'll start doing the Mopekas.
Kind of worried about this.
I haven't done a thing with my hair.
An adjustment in the bottom, and it goes this way.
Well, it's Monday. It's Modification Monday, and we're going to start on a series of modifications that we needed to do on the Airstream. We're going to start that today. We are going to do several things, mostly around our propane. We talked about the canister holder for the propane being an odd shape, and so we are going to install the gas stops with a 90-degree adapter here, and the adapter that goes into the regulator. So thank you, Gas Stop and Diversified Power, for providing these to us. We did a video last year about the gas stops themselves and the benefit of doing that and installing those, and I'll link that below, and I think that's key. We did it on the Lance, and we're going to have to do this now again on the Airstream using these 90 degrees because of the way the propane tanks are situated and the canisters and the holder in there. So that's one thing. We are going to also install, and we're not sponsored at all by this, we purchased these, but the Mopeka sensors. And so I'm not sure you can see that because it's really bright. As a matter of fact, if you remember the last video about how cold it was here, you know, frozen hoses and all that kind of stuff, well, it's blazing here. So we're going to install these on our propane tanks. Even though the gas stops have a gauge on them, we want to have a more accurate representation. And it's not that the gas stops aren't accurate, just any gauge like that is not entirely accurate. The gas stops are really used for the purpose of preventing a runaway gas leak. We're going to install, these are kind of heavy here, we're going to install some X-chocks. So we've noticed that we do use regular rubber chocks and the Anderson leveling blocks, but we are getting a lot of movement on the rig, and we'll show you the before and after of what that looks like. And then last but not least, I mentioned that we had to buy a sound bar because the Garmin Fusion stereo system does connect Bluetooth to the TV, but the delay is unbearable. We got a mount that we're going to mount the Bose soundbar with and see how that does. So anyway, let's get started. All right, now we're going to work on the propane tanks. We're going to add the gas stop 90-degree pigtails and or 90-degree adapter, and then the pigtails to connect to the Airstream regulator. So that should be good, so we can get those put back on. And we're going to attempt to install, and I always say attempt because, well, that's going to be an attempt. It may not go well. It should be pretty easy. So we're going to do the Mopekas on the propane tanks. I've gone 4 years without them, and just by using regular gauges and just trying to have a sense of how much propane we use. But since this rig has the on-demand water heater, which is propane only, that's going to be critical to making sure that we know how much propane we have, for heat, for the hot water heater, for cooking, those kinds of things inside. So probably could get by without them. So the gas stop kit comes really with two pieces. You have, well, actually you could probably say three. So you've got the gas stop actuator itself and the valve. Then you've got this 90-degree, which comes into this adapter, which fits most of the propane regulators, but because the Airstream has a different regulator, sorry for the truck in the background, then they will send you this additional piece, at least for our regulator. And I think that's a 1/4 NPT to a 1/4 inverted male. maybe it's female. Maybe it's female because it's inverted on the inside. You probably can't see that, but it's inverted there and then it's flat on the top. So one of the first things that we'll do to connect these pieces and eventually connect to the regulator is to wrap this in Teflon tape that is made for propane. So make sure it's yellow. There is a compound you can buy, which actually was on the original connectors, but I've never used that before. I'm not sure if you dip it on there, you can kind of see the remnants of it. It's kind of that reddish, maroonish color, but I'm not sure if you dip that in there, and I just wasn't sure if that would clog up the intake. So we're going to use the yellow Teflon tape and do both sides of that. And then they actually sent these additional pieces. I think these are spacers that we're going to need. So I'm going to try and install that on the bigger piece because that is a pretty long thread. So hopefully that will shorten that and then provide a little bit more seal on the regulator itself. Now, one of the things you want to do when you put that Teflon tape on there is take note of which way you are, screwing on to the threads, and you want to make sure the Teflon tape is going with that, whether it's clockwise or counterclockwise, because otherwise you're just going to be mashing it and pulling it off of the threads anyway. So you want to take note of like I said, which way you thread that on, and you want to wrap the Teflon tape the same way so it does not unravel. As you can see, I got those threaded on, so now I'm going to connect the tanks. We have not done the Mopekas yet, but we're going to connect the tanks and then just put a little bit of soapy water. I don't have a spray bottle, so I'm just going to have to get like a little bit of soapy water and just kind of put it over these connections, make sure we don't have any propane leaks, and we'll test that. And if that goes good, then we'll start doing the Mopekas. So one of the things that we should do before we actually get started with the installation is to download the Mopeka app so we can actually Bluetooth connect to the sensors. All right, so we got the app downloaded, and what you have to do is you press the sync button on here 5 to 10 seconds, and that's all on the instructions, and then it'll actually connect and then show up in your application itself. Now, what I don't know is that since we're going to install 2 of these, how that's physically going to work that way. I have to believe you can do it. The real question is, how do you do it? Because we bought these as individual sensors, so let me check that. But to get this one fully installed, and I did measure, so they do come with some spacers, and so you have to measure to see where your propane tank sits and if there's any, support mechanism in there. And I think it says 15 millimeters of clearance, and I did double check that. I put the Mopeka on there, put it back in its space, and I do have enough clearance, barely enough clearance, but enough clearance where I don't have to put the spacers on because it's not a solid surface. It kind of goes around the frame, and trying to position those spacers in the right way would just be, I'm sure that would be a mess after a while. So let's get the dielectric grease put on the back of here, and then we're going to get this one mounted and fully installed. Okay, for the sake of expediency, I just showed you installing one of them. We got the other one installed. Everything looks great. The application does allow you to have, probably more sensors than 2. We did 2, and you can rename them. So I renamed one driver's side, passenger side. So that is good to kind of keep that straight. And the thing that just to be cognizant of is make sure you put the dielectric grease on the sensor itself, so that gives a good connection to the bottom of the propane tank. And then 2 is you do have to kind of get it centered. Now the app does help you with that. What I found, instead of putting it on to the bottom of the tank first and and then trying to get it centered is I mounted it onto the frame of the rig first, and then just placed the propane bottle tank on top of it, and then you just got to move it around slightly, and the app will actually kind of help you with all that centering. So yeah, it's all installed. I love the fact that we now get more accurate information out of this, and I think that's going to be very, very helpful for us. And if you've watched our channel before, you know that one of the first upgrades I think we've done to every rig, well, actually not the Alliance, we didn't do it, we did it, but it took a little while to do. When we got the Lance, we did it right away, and we did it on this one right away, and that was adding snap pads. And I will tell you, that is the greatest inexpensive insurance policy to not only protect your jack pads themselves, and there's some places that actually, you know, especially if it's concrete pad, that you have to have something, either blocks or something. We'll have some more follow-on information. We are a partner with SnapPad. We'll have some more information about discount code with that, and I'll put that below. And we are also going to do a giveaway here in a little bit, so stay tuned for that. But that is another first that I would absolutely recommend with somebody buying a new RV or another RV, is to add snap pads. Now, we'll also do another first upgrade. We're not ready to do that one yet, but it involves sleeping, and you probably know what that's all about. So let's get back to doing more installs. We're going to install X-Chocks. Now, we had these, a different pair on the fifth wheel, and I think it did help. Of course, the fifth wheel is quite a bit heavier. It's 15,000 pounds. This is 8,800. And what we've noticed is that when we walk around, we get a little bit of shaking. And from looking at the tires that I can see, it looks like it moves back and forth as opposed to side by side. We do have the stabilizer jacks down, and they seem to do a pretty good job going side to side. It's the front to back, and you can kind of see in this video here about how the wheels do move a little bit back and forth. So we do have chocks on there, and of course I got the Anderson levelers. So we're going to install some X-Chocks and hopefully take that back and forth roll out of it so it stabilizes a little bit more. So this is not necessarily an Airstream upgrade. This is just really something that we should do. So let's get these installed. All right, so we got both of those done, so let's go inside and we'll get the video on the wheels to see if we see any movement. I'm hoping we don't. You know, I mean, these are not that expensive, and this is not something we would put on, every time if we stop overnight or something like that. But just if we're at a place for, I don't know, several nights in a row, certainly like we are here for a month, I think it definitely should help. I know it did help the fifth wheel, but again, the fifth wheel was also much heavier, so we were not susceptible. It had 6-point leveling, or has 6-point leveling. So let's see if we get any movement on this. Well, as far as I can tell, that definitely dampened a lot of the movement. I'm sure it doesn't take every bit of the shake out, but it certainly, and it wasn't shaking a whole lot to begin with, but just enough to where I know I'm the first one to rise in the morning, and Pam stays in bed. She's like, oh yeah, I know when you're up because I can feel the trailer going. So anyway, we think that is going to take a lot of it out. I think it's a worthwhile investment, and it certainly can't hurt. All right, so now we're going to try mounting the Bose soundbar. Now, I did look on Amazon for a number of different soundbar mounts, and I've got 2 of them here. This one was the one, I actually got one a couple days ago, but I was waiting for this one because I think this one will fit better, just in that the vertical bars are not quite as long as the other, and the horizontal holding bars are more adjustable than the other one. And this is the mounted, and in our Alliance fifth wheel I actually have the mounted computer display monitor mount as well, and we've been very satisfied with that. So this one just appears a little bit smaller, and the issue is the TV is a 27-inch TV, but you've got to be cognizant about how much vertical space you have in terms of the VESA mount to mount this. So I think this one's going to work better. Not that there's anything wrong with the other one. It actually looks very, very solid. It's called a Vivo. It looked very solid. Just the way that the horizontal mounts were to hold the sound bar, they were really kind of very deep, and you kind of articulated them a little bit back and forth at an angle to kind of get it hooked in there. And I just thought that was going to be a little bit much to do. And this one has, like I said, it's a little bit more concise. So let's get started. Well, I had to bring in reinforcements. You never thought that mounting a...
That's me.
It is a two-person job. Could be man to man, you know.
Let's clarify that. It is a two-person job, one that has a little bit of patience, because this
like doctors' patients?
No.
Why are you bringing medical stuff into this? No, really. So, and it is to try and, especially the way this TV mounts and everything. So I had to go to Home Depot. 8/32. I used the 1-inch screws. I'll put a link to what we purchased on Amazon to that particular mounting bar. But I think, like anything else, a lot of mounting bars will work. This one just seems like it's going to work better because it just widens out the support. So I want to thank my sponsors. I want to thank my wife for bailing me out on this, because I was about ready to bring the Bose soundbar and both mounts back.
I want to thank your stylist at the moment.
Well, she did cut my hair today.
What?
I haven't done a thing with it.
Don't mention who your stylist
No,
is.
the stylist is great. It's just that
I'm still kind of worried about this.
I haven't done a thing with my hair.